Welcome back to Morning Joy, where truth matters. I'm your host, Keith Downey, and very excited to introduce our next guest. He's a 30-year veteran of the animation industry and has most likely captivated you with his work on some blockbuster movies. From iconic titles like Spider-Man to the beloved live-action Lion King, his contributions have graced the big screen for decades. Now, he's embarked on a monumental project, producing and directing a film titled The New Manna, a Eucharistic miracle movie. Angelo Libutti, good morning and welcome to the show, Angelo.
Good morning to you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, absolutely, Angelo. Now, for those that might not be too familiar with the film, I know we've interviewed a couple others that have been attached to this film, but could you share with our listeners what inspired you to create The New Manna?
I think it was when during the COVID, pretty much was when we see how we were taken apart away from the Eucharist, the Adoration Chapel shut down, which was my own medicine, daily medicine to go at night times, every times I had the time, a possibility to go. And even so many churches closed down, people was denied the Eucharist. My partner, Ray Grijalba, he put together this beautiful collection of what Carlo Acutis started, to showing all these beautiful Eucharistic miracles. And we started talking, I said, hey, it would be nice to make a real movie. Finish what Carlo Acutis did. Never thought that, that I ended up to become a super close friend with Carlo Acutis' mother and his family. And they wanted they saw the same idea. They would love to finish what Carlos started. So when I say what Carlos started with the finish, it was like a really presenting something that nobody could say, no, that's not true. It's like presenting a kind of way. Recently, I know that this documentary they came out is I Thirst, but that is a documentary. And what we're doing is a feature films, full of action feature films that I hope with a story will go into a narration with a beautiful and having actually the full Bible passages of the Bible in a Catholic way with dialogue and so much more will be engaging to show what Christ really meant.
Yeah. You touched on something interesting, a couple things interesting, really. The Eucharist being medicine, and then, having it stripped away back, in 2020 was really difficult for many people. So it's interesting that was kind of like, that was your point of like, I need to get this out to the world. And speaking of the Eucharist, in your research and even some of those interviews with those, whether they're doctors or, folks like Scott Hahn, what were some of the most compelling Eucharistic miracles you encountered?
I think, they all were beautiful. And not taking away, I think each person, the beauty, I think each person is going to relate in a different way for how it's being exposed. The one I liked the most was the miracle on Tixla, because when we interviewed the people, even though it was past 12 or how many years now, but it's the way they spoke to you. It felt like it was 2 minutes ago. And we take a different takes, one after another one. And they were as excited as it just happened. And it kind of remind me this beautiful miracle that I saw when I was one time in adoration, where this guy, he signed himself for now, Big Joe. And he was paralyzed, half body paralyzed for more than 20 years. And in adoration, he felt some tingling and he started to get up. And since then, every time he tells the story, it's like he felt it just happened 2 seconds ago. And I think it's a beauty and charm to see that is the truth. Nobody can tell you, even doesn't matter what happened. But the way somebody tell you this kind of things, it really gives you those goosebumps. And you felt to be with him in that moment. So yeah, that's why.
Interesting. Yeah, I know there's more than just that particular interview with doctors and so on and so forth. So it'll be really interesting to see all of that culminated together. But hey, you're listening to Morning Joy, where truth matters. I'm your host, Keith Downey, and we are talking to the director of the Eucharistic miracle movie, the new Manna, Angelo Libutti. Now, Angelo, you and I kind of go back a little bit. You actually essentially hired me to be the actor to play John the Baptist, St. John the Baptist. And we recently celebrated the solemnity of the Nativity of St. John the Baptist this week. So I'm curious to know, because there's been many variations of those that played John the Baptist in movies, series, so on and so forth. Was there anything different that you were looking for when it came to someone playing the role of St. John the Baptist?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, there are some little things I like it for how other people represented. But again, I think it is the things was missing is the Catholicism behind it. And you can, I mean, if you take it off Bible passages, even something that you might think they are not related, when you study the Catholic faith as much as I did, I mean, next to these big theologians and super holy priests, you see how everything can interact. Every single, even the most, I read one time from the Catena Aurea from St. Thomas Aquinas, some of the things that, I mean, I was like, what in the world? Why nobody told me these things? It's like that things that, I mean, I even, for example, there's one example is, they still stuck in my mind, like incredible, is when St. Thomas explaining on the Catena Aurea why there was no other boat in the lake when Christ arrived, and then other boat arrived. But when Christ started explaining about what the Eucharist was, all the other boats left, and the boat of Peter stayed. And they're representing how the Peter was a Catholic church, and the other representing the Protestant, all the people that don't believe in the Eucharist. I mean, for what the Eucharist really is. So we are going to put that in. I mean, because I think it's a beautiful vision, because I mean, it's a stumbling blocks for so many Protestants that they don't embrace it. Christ really meant those words. I mean, and he was willing to say one times, two times, three times, and then look into his apostles and said, "Do you guys too want to leave?" So he was willing to take care of all the hard work to him becoming a man. To you, like St. Thomas had said really beautifully, how us, when we have a pet, dogs or cats, we lower down to their level in order, not because we are on the same level, but for try to reach out to them and explaining. The same things Christ did. And then he did again, more so, not from becoming as a God becoming a man, but as a man, as a God becoming a piece of Eucharist present there every single day in adoration, and probably like 1, 2, 3 people goes to see him at different hours a day. When Fulton Sheen would say, if everybody knew that there was the last lily on earth would be exposed on a museum, there would be line up for miles, for blocks, to be able to see that one. And we have a Jesus Christ, and people have hard times to even go to see for like 5 minutes a day.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of like the idea, like you said, it's like a Catholic representation of the biblical scenes, the way it should have been done, and a lot of these films that we see out there, and even the Last Supper is done, in the mind frame of the Catholic faith. So that's probably one of the most parts that I'm looking forward to. But I know we have
one thing. When I answer, I mean, because there's so much to say, is that because your role was something, for example, I learned from the Catholic faith about their sins, and try to cover that aspect as well. I mean, many people don't even know what they are. I mean, their sins, and I mean, so it's, I think, try to add in all these elements. The people say, okay, what is their sins? And then they're going to do more research and learning more, and see how everything brings back to the Catholic versus the Protestant.
Yeah, definitely. So I know we have a couple minutes left, and I have so many questions that we may have to bleed on over to the after show clubhouse there. But you mentioned Blessed Carlo Acutis. How has his mother, Antonia, helped support the film?
Well, first of all, everybody knows, I mean, because I heard some people talking down about Carlo things. Carlo Acutis' mother, she's become a theologian, like with the highest degrees from the Vatican and from the Downey. She's really is incredible. And for having her be able, Christ appear to her, I mean, and with her son, telling that, I mean, they want back it up for our movie, and there's so many miracles that happen with her help and things. So we really saw these insights that she was able to give us on the Eucharist and to be able to bring on our movie.
That's incredible. When, I know this is probably a question you hear all the time, when can we expect the film to be released?
That's a beautiful question. I mean, and again, come back always to the main fact that, I mean, that donations is what allowed us to finish. I mean, I spoke recently with, as we know, like it costs almost $10 million to do one episode of The Chosen. Recently, somebody I know that, I mean, they call himself is Catholic, is going to make now a little short film of just the Last Supper, and he received more than $20 million. Wow. We barely was able to raise $600,000 in 3 years and a half. So money, it's what we need. And I mean, it's like we cut the cost with $100,000. We were able to make like a $8 million look to it. I mean, the production value, but we still need the money for post-production and for filming several more scenes.
And you raise a good point. Where can we find all this information at? We can go to the website EucharisticMiraclesMovie.com, or on Instagram, we can find you at Eucharistic Miracle Movie. Goodness gracious, Angelo Libutti, thank you so much for joining us. We'll carry on the conversation in our after show clubhouse. Just search Morning Joy on any of the social medias or GRN online as they produce us. But this is us parting ways. Hey, God bless, and make it a joyful day. We'll see you tomorrow on Morning Joy, where truth matters.
This has been Morning Joy, where truth matters, hosted by Keith Downey. Take some joy with you today. Visit grnonline.com/joy to listen again, share a segment, or answer the question of the day. That's grnonline.com/joy.